Aloha, it's Dr. Dean again, and thank you for joining in. Today, I want to talk about the heart of the matter. In some sense, I'm about to give you a practice for the heart, for the physical heart, for the spiritual heart, for the heart of the universe, you could say. Tonglen is a practice that comes from Tibet, and in some ways, it's a true gift to our culture. It's kind of the big leagues in some sense that you're willing to give up kind of this self-absorption that we carry with us constantly and start feeling empathy and compassion and the suffering of the world altogether. There's two stages of Tonglen. One is where you do it moment by moment in the world at large, and the other is a formal sitting practice where you kind of get the basics down. I'm going to go teach it a little bit in reverse and teach the kind of instantaneous everyday practice, what we call post-meditation practice piece first. Tonglen is not a beginner's practice. What happens is from mindfulness practice, you kind of warm up to your world, you start to relax. And what that does is kind of drop some sort of self-centeredness, and you start to relate to the fact that we all suffer so much. We're all working so hard to be alive on this planet. There's so much deep-seated anxiety and fear that drives us constantly. So because of mindfulness meditation, you start to sniff a bigger picture. And you start to suspect that the old adage that if you want to be unhappy, think of yourself. But if you want to be happy, think of others. You start to realize, wow, that there might be something to that. So let's put ourselves in a situation, something as mundane as a grocery store where a little disagreement's going on between the clerk and the purchasing the food. Instantly your mind would shift, you could say, and on the in-breath, Tonglen is sending and taking. On the in-breath, you breathe in the problem that you're experiencing in the environment altogether, the situation that's causing some sort of angst. And on the out-breath, you breathe out kindness and love and peace and understanding and workability of that situation. Again, what I'm saying is it's a reverse of how we usually hold the best for ourselves or ward off the world. It's like willingness to jump right into some other situation. In some ways, it's like you become a beautiful air purifier for the environment, for toxins, both physical toxins, environmental toxins, emotional toxins. You're brave enough to actually breathe that in and breathe out hope and kindness and love. So you see this situation, this altercation, you could say, immediately you breathe in the misunderstanding and the pain and the kind of claustrophobia and how everybody's picking sides, the black and darkness and the unworkability of it. You breathe it in, and then on the out-breath you breathe out kindness and hope and relaxation and perspective, you could say. So it's like this black and white where you're breathing in, your actual daringness to lean right into the angst, the problem, the anxiety, the anger, the aggression that's causing it instantly. Breath in, oh. And then breath out, you breathe out kindness and workability and love. So you might do it for only one or two breaths, and then it may be that you're called to go and pick up your soup, but you kind of instantly switch the situation from darkness to light, from unworkability and aggression to kindness and workability. Let's say that you're in an airport, and this is a classic where a child's having a meltdown. You breathe in that mother's pain and her embarrassment and the whole situation of everybody kind of looking at them askew, and you breathe out, come on, this is okay, we can work this, come on, peace and gentleness to the child. The point is that you're willing to switch situations. You're willing to jump in and feel what's going on, the compassion, the empathy to the situation altogether. I've also taught this to hospice nurses who work at the bedside of a dying one, where they might do it for hours, breathing in the panic and the bewilderment and the fear of dying, and the breathing out the hope and the peace and the letting go and the welcoming into a new world. So it's that kind of willingness where you might do it for one or two breaths instantaneously, or you might work with it for literally hours. Maybe you're in a difficult business meeting and you breathe in how everybody's so stuck and certain. So you breathe in the blackness of certainty, and you breathe out the openness of how this thing could be workable and compassionate and kindness. So you can use it every day. I've also taught people, friends of mine who go to die with a loved one, to do Tonglen again for the whole environment as the family is letting go of a loved one, and particularly, as I said, of the dying one themselves, working with this kind of panic and fear and loss and hopelessness, and out you breathe out kindness and love and compassion and workability. It's very much kind of a black, but instead, now you're willing to take on the black, and it's like your heart transforms it instantly into this white. It's the big leagues in some sense, and it's kind of like what Christ's teachings were all about, you could say, shouldering the blame, taking the blame on, helping out the environment, helping out people, not holding yourself so precious and dear that you can't jump into the awkwardness and the suffering that goes on in our world. It's really best to learn Tonglen from an instructor who's been trained in it first in a meditation center. But I'll briefly go through the stages of it and how it's done as a formal practice. So you would probably be doing mindfulness practice, awareness practice, some sort of shamatha practice altogether when the person would announce that you were about to do Tonglen. To begin with in Tonglen, there's a sense of being able to let go completely. So that's the first thing, you just kind of let go completely. And then on the first inhalation, it's again like you were this cosmic, brave air conditioner, this air purifier that you breathe in this black, tox, soot, negativity, how we've polluted our world, all the things that causes war altogether, kind of personified as this dark, claustrophobic breath, air. You breathe that in, and here's a beautiful metaphor, is you have a diamond, a peerless, pristine, strong diamond. And when this black hits this diamond that's held within a rose in your heart, it transforms it instantly into purity and white and light and possibilities and the intelligence of how to take care of our world. So you have this kind of transformer, this magical transformer that when the black breath hits it, is instantly transmuted into openness and kindness and beneficial air and environments altogether to people. So bell rings, let go into space, and then the breath in, this black, transformed out. This black darkness, claustrophobia, toxics in you, this gallant, brave, beyond self-absorption air conditioner, this huge, gallant being willing to really lean into the suffering and pain of the world. You might do that for a few minutes, and then so Tonglen doesn't say conceptual. You now go to a very specific thing that you feel in your heart. It actually is something that's palatable, visceral to your being. One way of starting that I've seen too much on TV is a mother in a war situation over their dead baby, their dead child. And there's the metaphor that you use, this mother with this complete loss of words, this utter despair at a dead child killed innocently by these ravages of war. And you breathe that in, this mother's suffering, and it's transformed it out. You breathe out kindness and hope and care and healing and workability and gentleness. And you breathe in the poison and the hurt and the tremendous pain that she must be suffering, and it's transmuted into, again, a sense of peace, a sense of being held by somebody, a sense of care, a sense of tenderness. And you breathe in the black and the horrible loss that this mother must be feeling, and out you breathe out again care, like mentally purifying her angst, joining in, sharing in her suffering. Very brave. And you stay there again, working with this specific situation of the complete and total bewilderment of a mother losing a child. And this particular phase or step in Tonglen again might be held for 3-4 minutes. And then you start a process of universalizing, meaning that there's 10 mothers in that instant, in that block, suffering from a loss of a child, a loss of a loved one. And you breathe in all those mothers' pain and suffering, and it's transmuted, and out you breathe out sympathy and empathy and compassion and healing and hope. And again, you may stay here for a while, literally being brave enough to feel. And then you expand that to the whole war. Like you might think of all of Syria is at war, and all the mothers that have suffered this way with Syria at war. And you expand relatively quickly to all the mothers in the whole hemisphere who have lost a child in this bizarre and horrible fashion. And then you expand so quickly that you realize mothers everywhere can experience this pain of loss of a child being taken before its time. And then you allow yourself to not just include mothers, but all fathers who also experience loss and pain and suffering. And again, this black, toxic hopelessness is brought in and transmuted, and out is this kindness and hope and healing and being held by a community. And finally, you're down to the whole world's suffering of the loss of an unsuspected or mistimed death. And finally you think, oh, well, there's birds, there's elephants, there's fish that have experienced this loss of losing something they care for, or being jerked from the sea, or being all the kind of suffering that exists from being alive altogether. And now you're very close to actually just turning back into that air conditioner of what it is to be in this human condition altogether, of the suffering that exists on this planet, and how you're gallant enough to try to transmute it and give out empathy, compassion, kindness, hope, healing, love. So you stay as this air conditioner. You've universalized to not just the globe, but maybe the whole solar system, of this vast, gallant act of helping the environment, helping turn self-centeredness and aggression into openness and kindness and love. And then, again, I'm rushing this. I hope you take time with these stages. The gong would be rung and the end of Tonglen, and you will return to mindfulness. Somewhat the wiser, somewhat the more tenderized. It's like the design of Tonglen altogether is to use the pain and suffering that we normally kind of skip over, and we use it to tenderize and fertilize and grow our hearts. I use it in so many ways. Every time I hear a siren, I go, breath in immediately and breath out, because someone on the end of a siren is always suffering. Somebody's in a pickle of some sort. So the point is, there's the formal meditation and then the everyday practice in everyday life meditation, where you start to not hold yourself so precious, but be gallant enough to deal with the suffering that exists in the world altogether. As I said, it's very much what Christ was teaching about, the big leagues. But you get to trade this kind of claustrophobic, self-absorbed, little you against the world viewpoint to this vastness of love and compassion, this vast, gallant way of looking at the world. And in some ways you could say it's quite a good trade-off altogether. So I wanted to again review Tonglen. It's such an amazing gift from Tibet. I hope you practice it. If you have questions, go to your local meditation center where it's taught. Let's all join in becoming gallant air conditioners for our world altogether. Our world needs it. Aloha. Bye-bye.